If you believe that intersex is the third gender, that means that you think non-binary isn't a thing. Because it's not a binary anymore, is it? There's 3 genders. Hello, you wonderful people. Welcome back to the madness. We'll just jump straight in this week, shall we? You ready? Ready?
I teach in
I don't get why it's always the children. I say this in every fucking video that I make. I don't mean to repeat myself. I just can't help it. I don't understand why it's children. I think I would have been less concerned if it was like high schoolers. You know, like children that are actually coming to terms with their sexuality and stuff from like the age of like maybe 12 to 18 is like when you start thinking about who you are and what you're attracted to and stuff like that. That's the most confusing time as well, because you don't have any idea what's going on. So if I could understand if it was like a 15-year-old who's just discovered that they're a lesbian at a pride parade at like a high school, I could totally understand that. But it's like preteen kids, like little kids that aren't even like, they don't even know what sex is yet. They're still like concerned with playing Fortnite and going out with their friends in the neighborhood and stuff. Like, it's not even like on their radar yet, and we're cramming it on them.
an explicitly trans-affirming high school. We have gender support plans. We have a gender-affirming wardrobe at our school. We have binders on demand for our students, and other shapewear can easily be ordered. We have students that express themselves in all manner of different ways, and I couldn't be prouder to work at a school that's so amazing. If you would like to have your school also be an explicitly trans-affirming school, let me know. Maybe we can figure something out.
This is the thing that I always refer back to. How do you know what you are affirming is good? Like, just show me the metric by which you measure this. Because if you're going to start trying to throw things like the suicidality and stuff like that, it doesn't really change a lot. Like, there's research on it that, like, people that are in distress, people that are in mental distress and not feeling like you belong in your body is definitely mental distress. People who experience that, if they alter their like physiology, it doesn't repair the distress that they experience. It just puts a different kind of distress on them. I saw a video the other day of a trans person saying they miss being a man. Like, you're taking one problem and adding another problem to it. That's all you're doing. So how do you know what you're affirming is okay? Because if you can prove to me empirically with data, right, that transitioning children is somehow good for them, I'm open-minded to it. But from what I can see, there's nothing to lead us down that road. And it's almost like predatory. That's the word I'm looking for. It's almost like we're preying on the people rather than helping them. As a society, I mean we, because that's what if I don't voice my concerns and I let this shit happen, it's my fault that it happened. So
firstly, it enables the Attorney General to create a 2S LGBTQI+ community safety zone to prohibit within 100.
This anagram is getting longer and longer and longer, and they're just adding all sorts of crazy stuff to it. I don't know how far this can go before everybody just kicks back against this. It's going to blow up in their face at some point, because it's not rational. It's not rational. So like lesbian, gay and bisexual, right? Lesbian and gay are the same thing, right? What would you call a gay woman? A lesbian. So that means a woman that's gay is a lesbian. So it's just an extra label for a gay woman. Like, we don't have a word for gay men. They're just gay men. Homosexuals. And lesbians are homosexuals. So it's all the same thing. I don't understand why we need a separate term for them. It's an old, dated concept that we don't need anymore. They are just gay. It's a tiny part of who they are, but that's it, right? And then bisexual is a separate distinction because they can go either way. Like, a bisexual person could be entertained and aroused by people that are male their entire life and then marry a woman because that's the love of their life. And there's nothing wrong with that either, right? It makes sense to me. It makes sense that people are like, you're just attracted to what you're attracted to, aren't you? And then you've got what's socially acceptable, right? So that's fair enough. But then the two-spirit person and transgenderism and queer And I don't even know what the I is, and the plus is obviously because they intend to add more, right? None of those are anything to do with sexual proclivity or attraction or love or wanting to bond with a person. Like the two-spirit person is about how you feel in yourself. You could be two-spirit if you were the only person in the human race, right? You can't be gay if you're the only person in the human race. If all humans died tomorrow, right, and there was a little baby somewhere and he woke up and he'd never met humanity, he couldn't be straight or gay because he'd be the only one. He'd have nothing to be attracted to, right? So you can be two-spirit alone. So that's got nothing to do with your sexual proclivity. It's got nothing to do with it. Transgenderism, again, it's all internal stuff. It's got nothing to do with how you're attracted to people, how you want to form bonds with people. It's all about you. They're not even the same thing. We've just took two categories and just melded them together. And it's almost like the two-spirit and the trans and the queer, they're piggybacking off all of the work that people did for the past 40 years with homosexuality acceptance. People fought for years. Like, look at Alan Turing. Alan Turing saved us from the Nazis. Him and his team at Bletchley Park, if it wasn't for him working on the Enigma, we wouldn't be speaking English right now. We'd be fucking Sig Heiling at each other, right? To whoever Führer was in charge. That's what we'd be doing, right? And he was chemically castrated and he killed himself, right? Because of all the things that were done to him, purely because he was gay. He didn't commit any crimes apart from homosexuality, right? And we fought as a society for years for this to be accepted, right? And now people that think they're birds and men that think they're women are piggybacking off all that struggle to try and legitimize their own opinions. It doesn't make sense. If the LGBTQI plus community wants to do something, they should be in countries where homosexuals are still being thrown off roofs, right? Over here in the West, homosexuality is fine. Why aren't you going to places where people are getting thrown off rooftops to their death purely because of their sexual attraction? That's where you should be fighting. It seems like a lot of virtual signaling, because if you were trying to make progress, you'd be trying to make progress worldwide. There's no point in dragging the West all the way up to here with tolerance, and then as soon as a gay couple go to somewhere else, the tolerance level's down here. You need to try and get everybody tolerant. You need to stop attacking us. We're okay with this stuff, right? But you're pushing it too far. I'm sorry for the rant.
100 meters of the property, any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, 100 meters of the property in general to create a 2S LGBTQI plus community safety zone to prohibit within 100 meters of the property any homophobic, transphobic act of intimidation, threat, offensive threats, offensive remarks, protest, disturbance, and distribution of hate propaganda within the meaning of the criminal code. It also comes with it a penalty of $25,000 if prosecuted successfully.
Hang on, right? I might not have understood that, but that sounded like, to me, let me know in the comment section if I'm wrong about this, guys, right? But it sounded like to me that they were making a law where, like, say this property, my house, right? So if this property gets that weird community protection order thing, anything within 100 meters of my house that I, as a gay man, even though I'm not gay, like this for the example, I'm getting married to a woman, so yeah, I'd be bi at least. But yeah, me as a gay man, anything that I find offensive would then be illegal. So you could walk down the street in a t-shirt that says something that I find offensive, even though it's not offensive to the majority of people, and then that law, and these people say they're oppressed. They have got laws to specifically protect their feelings, and we are the oppressors.
So the conversation I talked about in my last video is a lot like a lot of the conversations I have about queerness and transness with my kids. Because I work in a conservative area and I'm an out non-binary trans teacher.
Non-binary doesn't exist. It doesn't make sense. It's you've failed categorically with categories. That's what you've done, because what you've done is you've said, right, there's male and there's female and there's intersex, right? So the main categories are male and female, and then there's another category over there which is the outlier to the rule. So there's three categories, right? This is their argument. There's three of them. There's male, female, and intersex, right? So On that logic alone, non-binary makes no sense because binary implies 2, yet there are 3. So how can you be non-binary in a tri-system? You'd be non-trinary, wouldn't you? Right? Anyway, let's keep going with this, how it makes no sense. So you neither identify as male or female and don't want to be categorized. So you then create another category and put yourself in it. So your want to not be categorized led you to another category, right? And that category that you have created has got no merit in reality whatsoever. You might as well say that you're a unicorn. Like, you've just picked a label, made the new box, jumped in that box and hoped it existed when it doesn't. Like, this person here says they're non-binary. I guarantee they've got an XY or an XX chromosome. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. So that by default makes you a binary. You're half of a binary species. That's what you are. So it makes no sense. It's all just propaganda. I've just finished reading 1984 by George Orwell. And if you're not strong-minded, I wouldn't recommend reading it because there's some quite nasty things in it. Like, the sex is very untraditional and there's a lot of torture, and it's effectively a critique of Stalin and his purges in the party. That's effectively what it is. But inside the book, there's a thing called newspeak, and it's where they are systematically, through increasingly more strict dictionaries, they're systematically erasing the language of the past. So they're making up new words that mean new things so that you stop talking in old speak and you start speaking in new speak. So there's like black, white and thought crime and what's the other one, double plus good and all these other phrases, right? But this is newspeak. So a woman used to mean an adult human female, but now a woman means anybody who identifies as a woman. So if I wanted to identify as a woman, I don't know what a woman is to identify as it, because there isn't a definition of woman. This is newspeak. It's newspeak. It's actually happening. This is why people draw the parallels between the book. Like, there's only a few parallels in the book, like the telescreen, newspeak, and to unperson someone, which is effectively cancellation nowadays. The only thing that's missing is the murder. But everything else from unpersoning someone is there. They get the channels deleted, they get removed from public life, that's it, they're not there. They've just tried to unperson Andrew Tate, look at it that way, right? It doesn't make any sense. It's all newspeak, it's all propaganda, and they're trying to get us to just blindly follow it, and I am not going to do that. Non-binary people do not exist. If you are going to stand there and tell me that you are non-binary, I would be able to do a blood test and tell you if you were male or female. What you believe in your head is irrelevant. It really is irrelevant. There's your truth, right? Is newspeak. I'm living my truth. That's newspeak for a delusion that I'm confident in. That's what my truth means. Right? So I'm just living my truth. I'm non-binary. What that means is I'm living in a delusion and I wholeheartedly believe in that delusion. Ergo, it's true to me. Right? So there's my truth and the truth. And the truth is this reality right now. The fact that there is air between me and the camera and the microphone. That is reality. But in my truth, the air's not there. Do you see how there's reality and delusion? It's just got different labels to it. Sorry, I can't help myself.
I have to tread very lightly for fear of losing my job. And so a lot of times I put it in terms of hypotheticals with the kids. I say, oh, some people like to use this. When I talk about my title, mix, I say, oh, it's just a third.
Another example of newspeak is all these neo-pronouns. It's all newspeak. 50 years ago would have made zero fucking sense. Now accepted as common vocabulary. It's all newspeak.
Alternative to
You're probably watching this on a telly screen.
Mr. Ms. that some people like to use. I let them kind of draw their own conclusions when it comes back to me, while also keeping it general enough to not bring the heat on myself.
The fact that you know you're bringing heat on yourself means that you're either fighting against something and it's worth the risk, or you know what you're doing is wrong. And that's like now, for example, me, I'm fighting against something. That's what I'm effectively bringing heat on myself. I'm going to get unpersoned, right, for saying this. I shouldn't be having these opinions. You're not allowed these opinions. It's thought crime, right? So I'm doing this, and I know that people aren't going to like it, but I don't care if people like it, because I exist in a reality, a physical reality that is objectively verifiable. I live here, right? I think, therefore I am, right? Even though that got debunked. But anyway, you saying that you're bringing heat on yourself means one of those two things. I don't mean to make it dichotomic, but these are the two like Occam's razor, these are the two most probable ones. You either know it's wrong and you persist anyway for a motive which you aren't revealing, or you genuinely believe that you are fighting something that's bad here. And I don't think you believe you're fighting something, because what you're fighting is what? To not sexualize children. That's what I'm fighting for. To like let 25-year-olds work this stuff out. That's what I'm fighting for. What are you fighting for? You're fighting for like pornography in schoolrooms. You're fighting for like teaching children sex ed that's beyond their body. It's more about the way it feels. You're giving them really, really strange advice about how they can separate from the parents and boys can be girls and all this. Like, what are you actually fighting for? When you list the things that you are fighting for, none of them are actually that great. And in reality, they're actually quite bad.
How would you define a woman? Because
here we go.
you've asked other people up here to define how we would define a woman. How would you define a woman, Mr. Walsh?
An adult human female.
And how don't trans people, how doesn't a transgender woman fit that definition?
Because they're not.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that woman? Female! Because that's exactly what I don't understand what this person here, this man, has missed out on. An adult human female. So how does a trans person not meet that? Female. Need I say more?
They're not female. They have. You said that you are a biological male, correct?
I said I'm transgender. I might be intersex for all we know. About almost as many people in the world are transgender as intersex, and
Well,
a lot of people don't know.
well, but that's a different conversation. Intersex, that's a genetic anomaly. That's a medical condition. So that's a completely different conversation. That's also not that's not a third gender. That's a genetic anomaly that occurs within the sex binary of male and female.
Yeah, you see, exactly what I said earlier, just Matt Walsh summed it up a lot better. Like, to them, it's a third gender. They've found like, I've got you. It's a got you moment. Because intersex means there's three genders. But if that's true, if you believe that intersex is a third gender, that means that you think non-binary isn't a thing. Because it's not a binary anymore, is it? There's three genders. Your argument is incoherent. Anyway, take it away, Matt.
What you're saying is that a quote-unquote trans woman is a female.
By the definitions I'm familiar with, yes.
So how would you define female?
Through my training in healthcare, there are several different categories for how we define sex. People bring up chromosomes. People also bring up hormone levels. People bring up
Hormone levels? Are you absolutely crazy? There's women out there that have got higher levels of testosterone than me, but they've still got ovaries. Like, your hormone levels don't determine. We've all got different hormone levels. Every single one of us. You will struggle to find a human that's got the same hormone levels as another human being. You will just not find it. That's non sequitur.
up all sorts of other categories. Lots of people don't fit neatly into a gender binary, even people we don't consider to be intersex. It's a complicated.
See, could we consider to be intersex? You see, again, like hinting on that it's a third gender. So we need to be able to smash gender apart because we found a third one. It means we've been wrong all this time. Let's smash it to pieces.
Spectrum.
It's not complicated, but you also didn't define. So what is a woman? What is a female? What do these words mean?
It's complicated, and I know you're not going to like that answer, but that's because there are no simple answers in human biology.
Let me ask you a question.
You guys,
Can I ask you one last
hang
question?
on. Just let me finish. You guys like to bring up high school level biology classes a lot. I get that a lot, but people who go on to more complicated biology classes will talk about sex as a spectrum.
It's not. It's not.
Well, biological researchers would disagree with you.
Well, then they're full of shit, the ones that would say that. There are male gametes and female gametes. Oh, I had one last question. I just have one. I had one quick. Can you come back for 1 second? Because this is an important question. You said you're an EMT.
Yes.
Okay, if you're responding to a health emergency. Biological male somebody with a penis is having a medical emergency, and they say to you, I think I'm having a miscarriage. Would you check them to see if they're having a miscarriage? Would you consider that a possibility for them?
Look. No, but
Transphobe. Transphobe. You're a transphobe. Men can have babies too. You're a transphobe. You're a bigot. By your own logic. Fallen on your own sword.
that's because some people don't have body parts. Doesn't mean they're not a woman.
Okay.
Based on that statement, that's because some people don't have body parts, so they're not a woman. That means that we can't make any assumptions in medicine anymore. We're going to have to get every single individual person. We're going to have to do CT scans, MRI scans, full body X-rays to work out what they are, what they've got, where they're coming from. Medicine's going to fall apart. We are fucked.
Sounds like we've established there are some people who, in principle, can get pregnant, and there are some people who can't. So there's two categories, otherwise known as binary.
Lots of women can't get pregnant either.
Yeah, but they're still of the nature to get pregnant.
Yeah.
The only
But
reason
they can't get pregnant.
Yes, but
truth matters, right?
But if a man can't get a woman pregnant because he's firing blanks, he's still genetically a man. He's just got faulty equipment. Like, that's like saying that because a soldier's rifle malfunctioned, he's no longer a soldier. No, he's just a soldier with faulty equipment. He needs a new gun. Like, the logical somersaults that some people will do to try and justify an argument. You see, what I do is I follow wherever the information that I can verify takes me. Are you with me? So if I can, well, that's true. That's been proven to be true. So then I can stand on that truth and peer a little bit further out, and then I can find some more truth, and I can stand on that truth, and I'm a little bit further above the canopy, and I can actually try to make sense of it. But what these people do, I don't mean these people like trans people, I mean like crazy people that don't think before they speak. They will have an idea in mind and work backwards. And it's almost like we solve problems by eliminating things that aren't true, whereas they solve problems by finding where the exit of the maze is and then just blindly working their way until they find an appropriate exit. That's how it seems. Like you can't have the end game and work backwards. You have to work with what you have to go forwards.
it does. That's what I'm trying to explain to you.
Truth matters, and they can't get pregnant. That's the truth. So how are they still women?
Because they are for the same reason that I can rightly say that human beings have two legs. And if a person is born with only one leg, that doesn't call into question the statement that human beings have two legs, okay? A person being born with one leg doesn't mean that now legs are on a spectrum and we can't say anything at all about how many legs a person has. Who knows? They could be a centipede. You know, they could have 100 legs. No, we know human beings have two legs. If a human is born without two legs, something went wrong. They were supposed to have that second leg. Something went wrong. If you meet a person on the street who only has one leg, maybe they had an accident. Maybe they were in war. Maybe something, maybe they were in a car accident. Maybe they had cancer. A leg was cut off. But you know that something went wrong because by their nature, they're supposed to have two legs. Same thing for a woman. A woman by her nature can get pregnant. A man by his nature never can. So if you meet a woman of childbearing age, say she's 28 years old, and she can't get pregnant, you know automatically that something has gone wrong. And she can go to the doctor and find out what that thing is, even if they can't fix it. So that proves that women by their nature can get pregnant because the simple fact that she can't shows you that there's something wrong. This is what is known as the exception that proves the rule. Whereas if a male with a penis can't get pregnant, no doctor on earth is going to run tests to see what's wrong with him. Because they already know it's that he's a male, and there's only male and female, those who can get pregnant and those who can't. So, that's it.
That's problematic!
Indeed it is, Rob. Indeed it is. Yeah, man. It's getting crazy. It's getting crazy. The thing is, I think we need to help these people, as crazy and as fringe as that sounds. It's almost like we have let them down, right? Look at it this way. A stupid person will burn themselves repeatedly. A smart person will burn themselves once, and a wise person saw the other two idiots do it. So if you know that something's wrong and you can see that something's wrong, you sort of owe it to other people to pass it down to them. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Peace.